Nissan, and not that far adrift either. So whether Andrina Guga has got the pace to get ahead of Chris Ward, again, depends on how much time of the race remains when we go green. But the Nissan that took victory at Spa and took second place at Navarra could be on here for another win, which would be great news for a team that was really downcast this morning. When I spoke to Chris Ward, he was really struggling to get much grip out of the tyres on a greasy road, which is what it was at the end of the the pre-qualifying session this morning. These dry conditions absolutely perfect for everybody involved, but this morning the greasy road was catching out 1 or 2, and the tyres much more happy, and the balance of the car much better for the Nissan team now that we've got these dry conditions. So Chris Ward leads the class. Try and have a quick look when the car's just come past me in a moment where the Nissan is relative to the 62 Lotus. Got 12.5 minutes to go, and as you can see, we're still under safety car conditions here at Magny Cours. Round 4 of the Blancpain Endurance Series. So Maxime Martin leads the way. Marcel Fassler runs second. Third, Paolo Roberti in the Porsche. Fourth is Michael Bartels. In fifth place is Jean-Luc Bobelic. He's been thrown a bit of a lifeline as well, because this again deprives the chasing Louis Machiels of many flying laps to try and get past him. And the track, I reckon, is just about as clear as it's going to be now. So maybe this will be the last time through behind the safety car. And it's potentially, if this is the last safety car lap, going to be round about 9 minutes worth of racing, and a flying lap is, in these sorts of conditions and in this light, or lack of light, going to be round about the 43-44 mark, isn't it, as a flying lap, 1 minute 43. So we'll be into the last 10 minutes of the race. There's Mark van der Straten, who's been out taking photographs and says, don't speak too soon. Yes, we get the message, Mark. Yes, 11 minutes and change remaining, but it's looking good. So Maxime Martin weaving around to maintain the warmth in the tyres. The BMW then is going to be, of course, released soon. We've not yet had the message on the screen to tell us that the safety car is going to come in, but the Michelin tyres needing to have the temperature kept in them if possible. And now that we've gone to the darkness, the overall temperature here, the ambient temperature, much cooler, of course. So the BMW leads the way, and this becoming very much a car to have in GT3 racing. We saw how well they've gone in the GT3 European Championship. We saw how well Schubert went at Spa, finishing second in the 24 hours this year. Couldn't match the pace of what effectively was a works Audi, but even so, it was a great job. A reliable car, a quick car. Marc VDS ran this car in the 24 hours of Spa, but it retired with problems. Well, here it has gone so far absolutely faultlessly. And waiting for the safety car, still with the lights flashing then, to come up towards the end of lap number 94. Maxime Martin having done the fastest lap of the race. And he is the man that leads as we get into the last 10 minutes of the race now. So as the safety car comes down towards the completion of lap 94, we are going to have it in at the end of this lap. We'll go racing this time. Safety car will be in at the end of the lap, and so as it peels towards the pit lane, Maxime Martin leads. How much ground can Marcel Fassler make up? How much ground can Paolo Roberti make up? Here they come. BMW leads, 9.5 on the clock. We go racing once more. Maxime Martin leads at Magny Cours, and as the rest of the field comes storming through, we've got the Audi of Philippe Albuquerque in a big hurry to try to gain ground as well. What's going to happen between Bobelic and Louis Machiels is the other question. And what about Marcel Fassler? Can he gain any places? Can Paolo Roberti take second away from the Audi? 9 minutes and 17 seconds on the clock as the race gets back underway. Maxime Martin here has got to keep pushing on. The tyres would have lost temperature, so it wouldn't be a surprise if we didn't see 1 or 2 drivers getting a bit crossed up as 51 goes through there. Fabrizio Basso up toward the Adelaide hairpin. 9 minutes of the race remain. It has been, as I suggested it may well turn out to be, another fantastic 3 hours of racing. And although it's gone a little bit quiet for the lead, we still had plenty of battles lower down the order, and they are still not all resolved yet. Look how busy it is going up towards Adelaide hairpin this time. There's number 2, Ferrari, which is Louis Machiels as he's gone round the outside, possibly Jean-Luc Bobelic there. I think he may have just gained the place, and that has potentially put Machiels up into the class. Didn't need another shot to check, but Louis Machiels, who's quicker anyway, looks like he's gained ground. There's one car that runs off the road. It's one of the Lamborghinis there. That I suspect is 31 Greg Gilbert. So, BMW leads Audi. In the first sector of the lap, it was the BMW with the clear road ahead being able to lap quicker. Of course, Fassler's now stuck in traffic. And Paolo Roberti trying to work his way through traffic also. Jean-Carl Vernet, you will have just spotted, is back in the race, down now in 15th place, hoping to get Frank Kekele some class points there. Paolo Roberti working his way through the chicane up towards Chateau d'Eau, but the race leader absolutely streaking away. Up towards the end of the lap comes Maxime Martin, and the win is theirs for the taking now. Marc VDS Racing, Maxime Martin, Marcus Peltola and Bas Leinders, who did that first very, very impressive stint in the car, go through now onto lap number 96. Marcel Fassler there getting stuck in traffic still. Jean-Carl Vernet behind. Over the line goes Fred Makovici, who's up into 5th place now. Louis Mackieles goes through 6th. So Mackieles has, on that lap, as I said, taken over the lead of the class. So the Pro-Am Cup being led now by Louis Mackieles, ahead of Jean-Luc Bobelic. Marcel Fassler is 14 seconds behind the leader, but his last lap was a much, much slower one because of the traffic. So although Fassler is a lot closer, he just can't get himself through the back markers quickly enough. And there's no traffic now, really, for Maxime Martin to worry about. In the remaining 7 minutes, I'll be surprised if he caught another back marker. He's going to have the clear road pretty much up to the end of the race now. It has worked out absolutely perfectly for number 40 BMW. Maxime Martin it is, leading the way, and there is Marcel Fassler trying to find a way past Jean-Luc Bobelic. So it's Martin from Fassler from Roberti. Bartels is 4th, Fred Mako now up into 5th place. That safety car's really helped Fred Makovici, because with everybody bunching up, he's been able to gain a couple of places on the restart. 6th is Louis Mackieles leading the class, 7th is Bobelic, 8th now is Richard Westbrook in the Nissan, going great guns first time out. 9th is Ricardo Bravo in the Lamborghini from the Rhinos Lightfoot team, and then in 10th place now is the number 80 Porsche, and that's the car with Philippe Gache and Eric Clement sharing, and it is Eric Clement who does the last stint in that car. 6 minutes and change remain in round 4 of the Blancpain Endurance Series. Over the timing line goes the race leader. Maxime Martin's lap is a 1:41, good in the dark, but of course it's a clear road ahead of him. And where is Marcel Fassler? There he is, coming up towards the completion of the lap. You can see how far back he is now. And Jean-Carl Vernet running with him. That Ferrari, having lost time in its pit garage, not a retirement, thankfully, back in the race and going very, very well now. So, frustration that the car had its problems. There it goes, Jean-Carl Vernet down in 15th place. That means they actually drop back behind the bet. Longchamp, Philippe Albuquerque, Stefan Ortelli, Audi. Martin and Fassler, the gap's going up 19 seconds because Marcel Fassler is still stuck in traffic, but it's only now half a second between Marcel Fassler and Paolo Roberti. So second place is going to change before the end, which is 5 minutes away, but where is it going to change? That's the question. So spot your headlights, find an Audi, find a Porsche together. There they are. Paolo Roberti looking for a way round the Audi, and he can't yet do so. And by the look of it, they've got the Vita 4-1 Ferrari just holding him up a little bit as one way goes Paolo Roberti. Can he duck up the inside, coming down toward the chicane? He can, he's through. He's done it on the inside. Paolo Roberti goes second, but he runs out wide, and fighting back straight away is Marcel Fassler, but there's no gap on the inside line. There's contact though, and the Porsche gets unsettled, and Marcel Fassler goes back ahead of him. Roberti hangs onto the inside line, going up now towards Chateau d'Eau. Is it going to be the Porsche or is it going to be the Audi that comes out ahead? It's all been a bit robust, this. So Paolo Roberti is through, back in the place, then back up into second spot, despite Marcel Fassler's elbows out style. It has not worked for him, and so Paolo Roberti is second. And this car, remember, in that middle stint, had lost time. It was way, way down in the teens, but Paolo Roberti, as predicted, with a very, very good last stint, has worked wonders. The safety car has helped him, I'll grant you, but there he is up into second place now. That's as good as it's going to get, unless something happens for the BMW. And that incident between 9 and 33, Roberti and Fassler, is under investigation. The leaders go through. We have got 4 minutes and counting of the race still to go. But Marcel Fassler, spurred into action here, is trying to come back at the Porsche. Paolo Roberti, a tremendous effort this to get him into second position. We've just had Paul Longchamp bring 22 into the pit lane, incidentally, so even with 3.5 minutes to go, 1 or 2 cars are still having to get round problems and pit. But up front, Maxime Martin leads by 23.7 seconds. Try as he might, Paolo Roberti ain't going to make up that, is he? He's quick, but he's not going to catch this car. The BMW Z4 leads the way, and Bas Leinders is just about able to think of himself as a winner now, so all is good at Marc VDS Racing Team. Some in the garage looking rather more interested than others, it has to be said. It's probably gone past bedtime for the younger members of Marc VDS looking at who was there. But Maxime Martin is set for a race win. We have got 3 minutes to go, but this car has not missed a beat a race long. It's been a faultless effort by the Marc VDS team, and also by Maxime Martin, by Marcus Paltela, and by Bas Leinders, who did that first stint. Yes, I'll grant you, Marcus Paltela lost time in this car in the middle stint, but they've been able to regroup from that fine. Had it not been, though, for that tyre problem for the #1 Ferrari, could it have been a different situation? In the end, that gearbox problem for Jean-Carl Vernet makes it an academic question, but it would have been interesting to see whether or not the Ferrari could have jumped ahead with a better pit stop. In the end, though, the BMW came out with a big lead and has just kept on extending it. Maxime Martin has done the fastest lap of the race. He's on target for a first win in the Blancpain Endurance Series. And what this also underlines is how much better a team Marc VDS has become in recent seasons, and how much Maxime Martin has developed, because you tend to think of Bas Leinders with all his years of experience as being the quickest driver in that car, but Maxime Martin, with the best lap of the race to his credit, I think it's fair to say, has driven a very, very impressive drive. And Maxime, you wouldn't have expected to be the quickest of those three a few years ago, but he does a lot of racing, he's done a lot of miles, and now very much establishing himself as one of the leading lights of GT racing. So there's going to be this lap and one more for the race leader. Looking at the clock, Martin to Paolo Roberti, 24 seconds is the gap, with in third place now Marcel Fassler, and in fourth place Michael Bartels, who you tend to forget about really in this stint, don't you? It's just never looked that good for the car that led in the hands of Philippe Salaquada earlier on. So Michael Bartels is fourth, and Fred Makovici is in fifth place in the #4 Aston Martin, and sixth is #2, which is the Louis Machiels driven Ferrari, leading now the Pro-Am Cup ahead of Jean-Luc Bobelic, and that gap is widening between the two of them. GT4 is Chris Ward ahead of Andrina Guga, but the gap's coming down and it's only 7 seconds. GT4 might just yet change before the very end. It's going to be touch and go. Chris Ward has probably got enough in hand, but it is just about conceivable that they may get themselves together. We're on the last lap now. Maxime Martin has gone through, and there you can see Jean-Carl Vernet down in 15th place. The similarly liveried Ferrari that bounces over the curb then is in 6th spot, Louis Machiels, although coming back in that time is Jean-Luc Bobelic. What Vita 4-1 needs is for Vernet to get between them and then just act as the buffer between Machiels and Bobelic, and I think that's the target here. Then behind them you've got Paolo Roberti, who's in 2nd place, but there is Maxime Martin then, who is on target for victory. The #40 BMW Z4, also underlining the fact that it's been a good move to move from the Ford GT to this car. It's a shame we haven't got the Ford on the grid, because it's another charismatic shape, but the team switching to the BMW for Spa and for this race, and Maxime Martin, who came from the Peugeot Spider Cup and the Euro Cup Megane Trophy into GT3 racing, initially with Morgan. Was part of the Jean-Pierre Jabouille operated Morgan GT3 team for a while, then hooked up in Marc VDS Racing, the Belgian team, which wherever possible tries to use homegrown talents, the one exception being Marcus Paltela, but he's raced for so long within Belgian categories that he's almost an honorary Belgian, I suppose, these days. Bas Leinders and Mark van der Straten then look on, and 2 more corners they only have to hold their breath for, because down towards the Complex du Lycée comes the #40 BMW. There's the checkered flag. The Blancpain Endurance Series race into the night at Magny Cours is won by Marc VDS Racing, by the BMW Z4 of Maxime Martin, Bas Leinders and Marcus Paltela. A delighted team owner, a delighted driver, and a great result for the team. Second, after an absolutely storming drive, Paolo Roberti, and there you're looking at the Pro-Am Cup top 2, where Louis Machiels is just going to hang on, having taken the win in the class. Then he took the lead, he wins the class from Jean-Luc Bobelic. Paolo Roberti for Autolando Sport comes home second, Marcel Fassler third, which is not great for Greg Franchi. Yes, it's points, but it's not as many as he wanted. He will maintain and increase his championship lead, but not by the margin he wanted. But even so, that's still a good outcome, particularly with Frank Kekler being so far down the order. One more race at Silverstone still to go. So that is how the top 4 looks at the end of the race. Number 31, you can see on the screen, Greg Gilbert, 16th, winning the Gentleman Trophy class in the race. But BMW from Porsche, Audi and Ferrari, the top 4. And Mark VDS, understandably, very, very happy indeed. It's been a long time coming, their first Blancpain win. Victories they've had in the GT1 World Championship have been in the 60-minute sprint race format, but to crack endurance racing is something rather different. It's happened for them at last, and it's going to be a very popular win, I think, that's for Passlinder's Maxime Martin. Now, in GT4, the gap has come down, but Chris Ward's Nissan is going to hang on in there and come through to score a second win of the year. So Chris Ward comes over the line. And where is the Lotus? It's not that far behind. Andrina Guga then, oh so near to a class win. There it is. And the gap between them as the Lotus come through in the end was 8.7 seconds. Chris Ward was able to respond at the end, and the Lotus lost a bit of pace as well. But it's the 2 of them on the lead lap. And Chris Ward, Alex Buncombe and Jordan Tresson the winners. Andrina Guga and Matthias Gamauf then come home in 2nd place. I think it has been a rip-roaring success, this race into the night. Magny Cours has been a great circuit for these cars. Some wonderful racing all the way through. And it feels like a proper endurance race, doesn't it now, with the cars in the darkness, with the headlights on, making their way into the pit lane and towards Parc Fermé. And for some teams, the celebrations are about to start. For others, the soul-searching is about to start. I can't imagine that Mikael Bartels is going to be hugely enamoured of what's happened for number 29. Certainly not for the number 1 car, which has cost Frank Kekler a chance of making up some ground in the championship. And as the winning cars are received down in the pit lane, drivers will be there in a moment, and then of course the winning teams will go to the podium. But Paolo Roberti being congratulated by Raffaele Gianmaria. And Bas Linders, as you can see, looking very, very pleased indeed. So the winning cars down the pit road, and there is the first place board being brandished by Bas Linders, who is absolutely elated with that, leaps in to congratulate Maxime Martin, and understandably so as well. So the celebrations are going to start. We'll hear from the drivers, of course, very shortly also. But first of all, even before Maxime's been allowed to take off his crash helmet, there are photographs to take. And looking into the classes, you get points for being in the top 10 in your class. Now, where was the Bertlangin Audi in the end? It got home in 5th, 6th, 7th in class, for which they get 6 points. Just looking to see out of all of this whether we yet have a championship resolved. That gives them 56. I reckon Greg Franchi is about 1.5 points away from winning the championship. It's going to go to Silverstone, but it's going to be Greg Franchi, the Belgian driver, going there with one hand on the title. So Greg Franchi, who came here with the championship lead, finishing in 3rd spot, and therefore increasing the 64.5 that he had coming into this round of the championship. But you get 25 for a win, but he's not quite there yet in terms of being a race win away from everybody else. Let's go down to the pit lane then. There are some very happy Belgian and Finnish drivers, and Haley is with them.
Baz, congratulations, a 2nd row start and a top step finish.
Yeah, it was really great. I enjoyed it all my stint. It was really, really nice, and I think we had a good team. I mean, 3 good drivers with a good car. I mean, what do you want more?
Congratulations, Marcus. Did you enjoy your stint in the BMW?
Actually, not at all. It was one of my worst stints, but I'm just happy that I kept it on the lead, and I have to thank Bas and Max for a great job, and of course the team also, because they did 2 great perfect pit stops, so I'm very happy.
And Max, you brought it home. What a result for the team. I think there's going to be quite a bit of partying with Mr. VDS this evening.
Yeah, for sure. It's a really good result for the team. We did a really good job, hard job, new car for us, so first win, it's really good, and yeah, we'd like to thank everybody in the team.
Thank you, guys.
A very honest Marcus Paltela saying it was one of his worst stints. I know it was a new car to him, and we did see the car losing pace, but he kept it in the lead. Even though the lead disappeared, it was nose to tail. He never cracked under the pressure from Nico Verdonk, who was one of many very impressive drivers in that race, who certainly didn't get the result he perhaps merited. Well, what a race. And although in the end it went a little bit quiet for the race lead, it's been a very popular win for Marc VDS Racing, Maxime Martin, Marcus Paltela and Bas Leinders. A class win in the Pro-Am Cup for Louis Machiels, Paul van Splunteren and Nick Hommerson. The Gentleman Trophy being won by Greg Gilbert, Fabien Michal and Georges Cabin. And in the GT4 class, Chris Ward, Jordan Tresson and Alex Buncombe coming home as the class winners. Now let's go back down to the pit lane. Paolo Roberti brought Orlando Sports Porsche home in second place. Let's catch up with the drivers and with Haley.
Congratulations, Paolo. That was quite a performance in the Porsche.
Yeah, I did a great performance because it was impossible for me to arrive a second, but a little bit helped us the safety car at the end. But it was really fast because every lap was 41 also in the traffic. The car was good, my teammate did a good job. We are really happy. We still fight for the championship, but it's very hard. We are really happy.
So, Luca, I could feel the tension in the garage towards the end of the race there.
A good race. I'm very happy for me and teammate and the team because it was very hard with that competitor. It's always a battle, a war, but I'm very happy.
And Raffaele, you take the battle for the championship to Silverstone.
Yeah, because with the overtake of Paolo on Fassler, we had the possibility to fight for the championship in Silverstone. So we are very confident because in Silverstone we can do a very good race.
Thank you.
So the gap narrows also between the Greg Franchi points total and those of the Italians you've just been hearing from. And I think we'll get third place in a moment. Haley's busy orchestrating all of this to hear from Marcel Fassler and from, of course, his co-drivers of Greg Franchi and Andrea Piccini. So there is confirmation of how the cars came across the line, with the Marcus Paltela, Bas Leinders and Maxime Martin BMW winning here at Magny Cours, and it was bang on 100 laps after the safety car, second safety car period that we had. Gianluca Roda, Raffaele Giammaria and Paolo Roberti second, Greg Franchi, Andrea Piccini, Marcel Fassler third, Martin Matschke, Philippe Salaquara and Michael Bartels fourth, ahead of Henri Moser, Gilles Vanelay and Fred Makovici fifth, Nick Hommerson, Louis Machiels and Paul van Splunteren class winners sixth, ahead of 7th and 2nd in the Pro-Am class, Franck Morel, Jean-Luc Bobelic and Ludovic Badet. The Nissan, first time out, bags 8th, not a bad effort, 2 laps down, Richard Westbrook and David Brabham. 9th, the Lambo of Duarte Felix da Costa, Lorenzo Bero de Vega and Ricardo Bravo. And the top 10 rounded out by Eric Clement and Philippe Gache, ahead of Jack Gerber and Matt Griffin. And then 12th place over the line was car 51, which was the AF Corsa Ferrari of Forgione, Basso and Mugelli. Behind them, De Bruyne and Kelders were 13th, Longchamp, Albuquerque and Ortelli 14th in a race of what could have been. The same true for Verdonk, Kechler and Vernay. 16th and class winners, Georges Cabin, Fabien Michel and Greg Gilbert, ahead of Pioli, Milani and Villa. Then it was Brodkeuren, Harkema and Russo in 18th place. And there you can see, as the caption scrolls through, some of the problems and the cars that retired early on in the race. The number 45 Lamborghini, for example, we saw stopped on the circuit. We had Eric Carroll, number 42, going into the gravel. The 61 Lotus pitted and never rejoined. 10 crashed out. 59 had its problem in the lack of power. That was a retirement. And 64 was an early retirement after damage, the Lamborghini. So, as ever, in GT racing and in the Blancpain Endurance Series, many teams with differing fortunes, but the one thing that remains a constant has been great racing, and this round has been no exception. So the drivers then being brought towards the podium, and we will have the top 3 drivers in a moment, because there, for third place, you can see Greg Franchi, Marcel Fassler, and also making his way up the steps is Andrea Piccini. So the third place drivers out onto the podium then for the Belgian Audi Club, the WRT team, and Greg Franchi then continues to hold sway within the points standings in the Blancpain Endurance Series, with the second place drivers then a little bit nearer now, Paolo Roberti, Gianluca Roda and Raffaele Gianmaria, but it is going to be a very noisy reception, no doubt, for Bas Leinders, for Maxime Martin, for Marcus Paltela, and for Mark van der Straten, who makes his way out as, of course, the representative of the winning team. Victory in round 4 of the Blancpain Endurance Series goes to 2 Belgians and a Finn, a German car from a Belgian team. Bas Leinders, Maxime Martin and Marcus Paltela for the top step of the podium, the winners here at Magny Cours. So the Belgian national anthem is played in France for the Marc VDS team as the winners then of the 4th round of the Blancpain Endurance Series, and the top 3 overall, of course, also the top 3 within the Pro Cup. We'll have the other class podiums very shortly, but for a moment at least, the GT3 Pro Cup teams can celebrate. And the championship, as I say, heads to Silverstone for the final round, and it's all to play for. Greg Franchi has a good advantage, but it is not over yet. He could still just about be caught by the Autolando Sport Porsche drivers you can see nearest the camera. It's also just about conceivable, if either of those didn't finish and there was a win for Ortelli, Langin and Albuquerque, that they could take the title away at the very last round. And so far, each round of the championship has been won by a different team and a different car, and it all bodes well for a superb climax at Silverstone in October. So the celebrations on the podium, and quite a few teams will now go away and have a think about what it was that caused them to lose time, caused them to have problems during the Blancpain Endurance Series race. But victory then to Bas Leinders, to Marcus Paltelas and Maxime Martin at the end of round 4 of the Blancpain Endurance Series from Magny Cours. From David Addison and Haley Coxon for now, goodbye. Trophies then to the winning drivers, and Bas Leinders, Marcus Paltela and Maxime Martin celebrate, but so also will Le Patron, because Mark van der Straten is there, trophy in hand. And now the champagne is about to be sprayed, but I was just wondering, looking at Marcus Paltela's demeanour, whether he almost feels as though he let the side down a bit. He kept the lead, but he hasn't got quite the same enthusiasm as that evinced by Bas Leinders and by Maxime Martin, but he was instrumental in that car maintaining its advantage. And okay, they may have been helped by the Vita41 team with problems in the pits and then with that gear selection issue, but even so, it was a great effort by the Marc VDS team. And maybe there's a question to be posed in the press conference by somebody: what was it that made you stay with the Ford GT for so long? Because now that they switched to the BMW, it's looking very promising indeed. And the governor has just got drenched, as you can see. So the first win, therefore the best result of the season, of course, for Marc VDS within the Pro Cup in the Blancpain Endurance Series, and an excellent result by the Belgian team. And when you're the winners, you don't really mind getting that wet through champagne, do you? Certainly the boss doesn't. And the podium then is going to be made ready for the next podium ceremony that we will have. In a few moments' time, we'll have the Pro-Am Cup drivers up there. And so the class in the end, having been won by the Ferrari of Louis Mackiels, Paul van Splunteren and Nick Hommerson. And we'll get those drivers up onto the podium very shortly. Second, going to Ludovic Badet, Jean-Luc Bobelic and Franck Morel. And third in the Pro-Am Cup, going the way of the three Portuguese drivers in the Lamborghini, namely Lorenzo Beira de Vega, Ricardo Bravo and Duarte Felix da Costa. All of them young gun drivers, but without the success behind them at the very highest level. Then they drop into the Pro-Am class. There's not an amateur driver amongst them, but they are still achieving their stellar results rather than having yet won championships, but drivers to keep an eye to, that's for sure. So as the GT3 Pro-Am Cup drivers, there they are, make their way out. The Rhinos Lippert team, first of all, for third place. For then the Portuguese drivers of Duarte Felix da Costa, Lorenzo Beira de Vega and Ricardo Bravo. Then for second place, the French team, getting a good reception, Ludovic Badet, Jean-Luc Bobelic and Franck Morel. But the race winners making their way now, Nick Hommerson, Louis Mackiels and Paul van Splunteren onto the top step of the podium here at Magny Cours, and that gives the first victory of the season to van Splunteren and the first overall win for Hommerson and Mackiels, having scored points for leading the class at 6 and 12 hours at Spa. So it's Ferrari, Lamborghini in the Pro-Am class. Trophies being presented then now to the winning drivers. And as I say, it's the first, what you might call proper win of the year for Hommerson, Mackiels and van Splunteren. But when Nick Hommerson and Louis Mackiels drove at Spa with Michael Bartels and Andrea Bertolini, they were leading their class at the 6 and the 12 hour mark, and they got half points then. But of course they were black flagged in the end, and the car wasn't able to take the finish of the race, so that gave victory at Spa to Ludovic Badet, Franck Morel and Jean-Luc Bobelic, along with Guillaume Moreau, who was the other driver of the car. And the champagne is sprayed a bit previously, I reckon, by the French drivers in the surviving Sofrev Autosport Promotion car. Paul van Splunteren clutching his trophy and spraying champagne, determined not to let one of them out of his sight. And the Dutch Porsche dealer, who goes very well racing Ferraris, it must be said, goes back onto the podium for photographs at the end of this fourth round of the championship. But that's the equal best result for the Portuguese drivers, you can see at the far end of the podium, because they were third at Navarra earlier on in the season, third in class I'm talking about, and they've done it again here at Magny Cours. So a good effort once more by the Rhinos Lippert team. And the drivers now still soaking each other in champagne will make their way off the podium and head to the press conference. And the next drivers that we should have will be heading to the podium. We've got the GT4, the Gentleman Trophy and the Cup class all still to come. So the next to the podiums will be coming up in a moment or two. One or two of the retrieved cars are there looking a bit forlorn in the pit lane. And the GT4 class, won for the second time this year by NISSAN, the Gentleman Trophy class, won for the third time by Georges Cabin, for the second time by Greg Gilbert, for the second time by Fabien Michel. So the Gentleman Trophy it is that we have next, and out then come the drivers for third place. First of all, you have there Philippe Broodkeuren, having brought the number 19 Porsche home third in class, and the top step of the podium goes to Fabien Michel, to Greg Gilbert, and to the larger-than-life frame of Georges Cabin, who, as is tradition in this circumstance, we saw it at Monza and at Navarra, brings the family with him. So the podium becomes very crowded, but Georges Cabin is a proper character who loves his racing, and he's on the top step of the podium after a third win of the year. So Georges Cabin, Fabien Michel and Greg Gilbert, whose last race in fact was at Silverstone a week ago in the Eurocup Megane Trophy, and that ended in retirement. Here he celebrates a class win. The second place team, you can see to their right, are for the second time this year Giorgio Piodi, Matteo Melani and Stefano Villa. But getting their trophies for third place are Brody, the pseudonymed Belgian, Philippe Broodkeuren, Matthias Hakema, the Dutch driver, and having his first race in the championship, in fact the Luxembourg-based Pierre-Yves Rousseau. So smiles all round amongst the Gentleman Trophy racers. To be fair to Greg Gilbert, it wasn't that long ago that he was being talked of as an up-and-coming French GT driver, but these days racing within the Gentleman Trophy. And we've had the trophies to the second-placed team, now to Greg Gilbert, to Fabien Michel, and to Georges Cabin, who easily lifts up the younger members of the podium party. Winning team manager also receives his trophy, the car run by Ruffier Racing, although entered by Georges Cabin. And with trophies and children being brandished in the air for photographs, now the champagne is sprayed at the end of the Gentleman Trophy on the podium at Magny Cours. And Georges Cabin selflessly sacrifices himself to keep his grandson dry. But as he makes his way off the podium now, it's a third-class win of the season. So the end of round 4 of the Blancpain Endurance Series, a tremendous race here at Magny Cours. One round to go at Silverstone in October. But that's it from France. From Hayley Coxon, from David Addison, bonne nuit.